First affair, final affair, Guy Hudson. This is why you got into that car accident, and poor your wife got involved in it too. The ghetto. What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for tuning in with me today. I am going to be checking out the Roottree Mania, where we get the little side plots of secret children, secret affairs, secrets on top of secrets. All right. If you watched the Roottree gameplay, I hope this intrigued you some more to see what goes down in this part of the game. And yeah, this is one of those games where, like I said before, you put on, whether you're cleaning, trying to fall asleep, whatever you need to do, you put that on and just have it as background noise. As always, if you don't know, I'm gonna let you know. Make sure you grab you some water, stay hydrated. Even while you're trying to sleep, stay hydrated. And yeah, get you some snacks or get cozied up in your blanket. Let's get into the Root Trees Are Dead Mania. Roottree Mania. Is that what it's called? Child, we gonna find out together. Okay. Okay, so we're just continuing off from where we left off of the overall thing. Yeah, Roottree Mania. Hopefully this doesn't take as long as the first time. I have a donut, y'all. Okay, so this is the clean slate. This is everything that happened in the root trees are dead. So now we're here and we have new things to uncover and discover. Where we left off, we had some evidence brought to us by, what relative was it again? I low-key forgot. He's just trying to prove that, I'm guessing he's one of us. These are the notable events that, if you're new to the series, we had this in the other gameplay part of the Root Trees Are Dead, where these are important events that we need to look up on cross off. Some of these could be a waste of our time, but we're gonna look into it anyway. And yeah, let me read this really quickly. So notable events start here. Today is August 3rd, 1998. It has been 8 months since you helped Sam Matson with the research necessary for her book. Sam was true to her word and paid you an incredibly large sum of money. She never mentioned you by name, however, so you managed to keep a low profile. The Root Trees, on the other hand, have not. Below is a summary of notable events since the book's release, though you can refresh your memory in full detail by searching online. 6 pieces. Sam Matson's book about Elias Roottree was released in February. It was a bestseller for a few months. At the time, Carl had not yet been replaced. The Roottree Rift. In March, the Roottree company stumbled publicly as they attempted to respond to the book's release with multiple conflicting press releases and a clear lack of leadership. Clark Rafferty LaRoe. Clark was announced, I think that's who came to see us. Clark was announced as the permanent successor to Carl Roottree and welcomed Sam Matson to the family officially. The company hired an outside legal group to handle the changes to the clan's trust. This included any other new questions of lineage. 5 Ps. After this announcement, there was a rash of different people claiming to be Roottrees, mostly dismissed as opportunists and scammers. The highest profile of these, by a wide margin, was a rapper named Felix Fellows? We're gonna highlight that. We're gonna look into that. Who changed his moniker to 5 Ps, okay, as a publicity move at the same time. Okay. Trying to play a word on 5 pieces. Got it. 5 Ps is the only notable person on the updated tree. Okay. Roottree Mania. In another high-profile misstep, Miracle Roottree publicly and vehemently denied that 5 Ps was a Roottree. The Roottree's legal team then offered to do a DNA test to get 5 Ps to drop his claim, and in a moment that caught what seemed like the entire world by storm, the test proved he was a Roottree. Suddenly, the world was obsessed with the Roottrees. Ooh, drama. Anonymom and Jane Doe Roottree. In July, an anonymous woman, who the press began to refer to as Anonymom, appeared in interviews with her face and voice disguised. She claimed that an affair with a Roottree led to the birth of her daughter, aka Jane Doe Roottree. If true, is that her real name, or is that just y'all don't know her real name? If true, this will make her daughter yet another secret Roottree and therefore entitled to a share of the clan's trust. Nobody knew it at the time, but this will turn out to be the last chapter in Roottree Mania saga. As more and more of Anonymom's story came out, people began to notice how much it echoed 5 Ps in nearly every significant way. I mean, 5 Ps got did his work already, so he's definitely a kin of the Roottrees. The court of the public opinion began to turn, confirming the world's suspicions. The DNA test, orchestrated by lawyers on both sides, proved that her daughter was not a Roottree. This final event caused public disappointment, smugness from doubters, and countless accusations of the entire ordeal being an elaborate hoax or attempt at fraud. Things got a bit ugly, and the fun of Roottree Mania seemed to disappear overnight. Now, a month later, it feels like a distant memory. Okay. Previously on The Roottrees Are Dead. I mean, I could probably read this on my own time. Oh, hold on, wait, what? Okay, this is just some reminders of some stuff. This is a new investigation with a new focus. After many months of newfound interest in the Roottrees, it is recommended you try to catch up with some of what happened since last time. Okay. And then I was reading this part. It says there were also a few dead ends in red herrings. A lawyer, who claimed he was a Roottree was not. Family Man, a book about Elias Roottree, turned out to be a propaganda and not useful. Lauren's other books, historical romance novels, were not very useful on their own, though could lead to other information. Coraline Mordaunt's sculpture was not useful. For sure it was not. Okay. So yeah, I'll just go back to this here and there if we need some refreshers, but I'm not going to read all this right now. And then the unexpected visitor was Clark Rafferty LaRoe, like I thought. All right. Okay, so I guess where we're going to start is 5Ps. Let's go to the internet and search 5Ps. I'm going to look up both of his names. 5Ps and, what was his first name? Follow? Okay, 5Ps, aka Felix Fellows, is a rapper who was found some recent radio play after being publicly confirmed as a long-lost Roottree and entitled to part of their fortune. His alias 5Ps is a play on 5 pieces. An article you find on a website known for their particularly harsh review of modern music give his most recent album, Root of All Evil, 1 star out of 7 for whatever reason, with the headline, More Poser Than My Action Figure Collection. Okay, I'm gonna highlight the album just in case we can look it up somewhere else. The review mentions his real name is David. And he used to go by Dirt Hey Davey. Look, I'm high. Y'all know how I did the first one. And the author rules that the fact that this rebranding was a blatant marketing stunt at the expense of his mother's tragic past. She overdosed when he was 16. Apparently, only one of the songs on the album is new, and the others were simply rewritten to turn blatant references to sex, drugs, and violence into clumsy euphemisms. There we go. Take your time. His rise to prominence was kickstarted when he appeared a few months ago on the cover of News Time holding a photo of his mother with Guy Hudson. Also, they're trying to say that his dad, Guy Hudson, his dad could be Guy Hudson. Guy Hudson died in a car accident. There we go. At first, the Roottree company denied it vehemently. Miracle Roottree even appeared on the same magazine a week later, but since then they've backtracked and publicly welcomed him to the family. Their press release at the time stated that they had new evidence that confirmed his story. Okay, let's go to News Times periodical. Okay, Felix Fellows, aka 5Ps, famously appeared on the cover of the News Time, kicking off Roottree Mania. Then, 5 weeks later, after Miracle Roottree appeared on the cover of the magazine and articles that focused heavily on 5Ps as well. Okay. So this is 5Ps, aka Felix Fellows. 5Ps, aka fellow Felix Fellows, appeared on the cover of the News Time holding a photo of his mother. So I need to zoom in on that and to get her picture. That's as close as I can get. Child. Are y'all trying to say they covered up her pregnancy or their relationship? Is that what y'all trying to say? Because he did die in a car accident. Okay. The article concerns his insistence that his father was Guy Hudson. The story was dramatic and sensational and initially dismissed as fake until a DNA test proved that he was related to Guy Hudson. Okay. 5P says that his mother, Joanna, was Zach Morden's secretary, and when he retired, and then Guy Hudson's secretary for only 1 to 2 weeks after that before she quit. The first few weeks that he was president, his parents divorced when he was 4 after his father learned of the affair. Felix and his mother then moved to Portland because he was afraid of her and her son's life. He grew up with her until he was 16, but one day his mother never came home from the movie rental store where she worked the registers. The next morning, they found her dead from an overdose in her car. She had stolen all the cash from her drawer and spent it on heroin. That's interesting. As Felix went through her belongings, the only thing he had to remember her by were a hairbrush she always used, some photos, and a stuffed animal from her childhood. But then he found it, a box hidden in the back of her closet. Inside were love letters and photos related to Guy Hudson, as well as a letter from his father containing threats. He threw it all away with the exception of the one photo he appears with on the cover of News Time. Why didn't you keep that? He says it was the only one where they were dressed. The only Okay, the only one not from their affair itself. The picture is shown in full inside the magazine. It was added to the evidence. Okay. Thank you. The magazine also includes some additional history about 5P's career. Felix Fellows was born to Riley and Johanna Fellows, but was never wrapped. Wait, what? Felix Fellows was born to Riley and Joanna Fellows. Okay, gotcha. But was never wrapped without a moniker. He tried to find success by opening for other artists and even by selling CDs on the street corners in Portland. He was only recently started going as 5Ps to harness the power of his lineage. Child, how's that going for you? Because 5Ps is not a cool rap name, to be honest. Anyway, the writer did some research into the truth of these claims and was able to confirm that Joanna did work for Roottree Company as a secretary sometime during the early to mid 70s. It's also confirmed she died of a drug overdose and that Felix went into the foster care soon after. They were unable to track his father down. His father, I mean, isn't his well, they're saying that he's related to Guy Hudson, but they're not saying that's his child per se. But come on, let's be real. Let's call a spade a spade. They also reached out to the Roottree Company, but at the moment, the company blanketed statement was, since the release of a recent book, Roottree has seen as an overwhelming number of false ancestral claims. None have been factual, and nearly all have been knowingly dishonest. We encouraged individuals to reach out to us in an official capacity as opposed to attempting to use our name in the media for publicity. Okay. Okay. Who is this? Charlatans and Thieves. Miracle. Oh, Miracle. Okay, I got you. Miracle Roottree appeared on the cover of News Time shortly after 5Ps did. He vehemently denied that. What does this word mean? I need to look this up because I've seen it like 20 times. Denied that 5Ps was a Roottree. The article is from before the DNA test that proved it. Miracle doesn't focus much on the details of 5P's accusation regarding his mother and Guy Hudson. Instead, he comes across as exhausted at the events that have been going on behind the scenes, as well as the characters of those he feels are attacking his family. I start with 6P's content. He says that although most of the books was based, in fact, it left out anything that wouldn't fit the agenda. He points out Sam's daughter still earns a generous salary of overseeing the farm division of Roottree, and that Sam did the same before her. Okay, hold on, let me go down. That Sam's family was not destitute, and that really was only her son who chose to take on a job with no salary. He claims that though they didn't have to, the family helped pay for her son's medical bills after voting that it was the right thing to do. Miracle also says that the story about his father, Elias, shunning EC was one-sided, leaving out Edward Clancy's blame in the whole thing. Elias gave him a simple ultimatum: stop sinning or be disowned. Miracle says it was EC's own choice and that Elias allowing him to earn food and shelter on the company's dime was a kindness, especially considering that he and John continued to live together. Miracle then pivots to the fallout from 6P's. He recounts a deluge of claims to the clan's trust that the family have been subjected to. He doesn't cite any specifics, but says that every time someone comes forward, the family devolves to arguments. They've had to hire an outside legal team to help, but so far every case has been demonstrably laughable. False. All they do is tarnish his family's reputation. Okay. He focuses on 5Ps who appeared on News Time before him. He calls him a grifter and a delinquent and says he is using their name and products to sell filth to the masses. I'm sorry, y'all, if I'm messing up simple words. My contacts have been driving me crazy. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I think I need to get some new ones. So like at some point, some of these words are doubling up. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, girl, just get off the computer at this point. But I'm pushing it through. Of all the accusations, he says this is the most dangerous because it exposes the world to hatred. He cites 5P's lyrics as violent, sexist, and ungodly, and prays the boy will repent, retract his lies, and find religion. Lastly, he turns to the future. Miracle states that those that wish to hear the true story can join him on the farewell tour this upcoming fall. Farewell tour. I'm gonna look into that. The Miracle Roottree are planning on touring the country's churches one last time, and that now at age 71, Miracle is the oldest living Roottree. While he plans to continue preaching at his own church in Butler County after the tour, this is your last chance to hear the truth from the man with the most complete recollection of one of America's most notable families in your own hometown. Interesting. The article mentions that Miracle's son, Miracle Jr., did not wish to comment and has a statement from Clark Rafferty LaRoe through the Roottree's law firm. Miracle does not speak for the entire family. We're working carefully on a plan to definitively disprove any claims of infidelity in our family's past. The article also does not refute Miracle's claim that he's the oldest living Roottree. Despite Sam Matson being born the year before him, it was unclear if Miracle made the claim out of ignorance or spite. Probably spite. Okay, let's look into this picture real quick. The rapper 5P's appeared on the cover. Okay, we know. It claims that Joanna and Guy Hudson also, in the photo, were having an affair that led to his birth. What does her shirt say? Roottree Family Picnic. Interesting. Why was she there? I know she was a secretary, but it's like, why are you there? Oh, why? What is this? Possible infidelity, 1991. Possible infidelity. Okay, hold on. I need to get the year again. Hold on, let me just go back and get the year. Oh wait, no, this could be him right here. And I only say this could be him right here because he's the only notable. So 5P's. Okay, let's say he's an artist for now. Hold on. Artist or a rapper? Do they have rapper as an option? Musician. Stop zooming out. What was his real name? Fellows. I'm glad you could type it now. Felix, how could I forget? There we go. Okay. So then her husband name was Riley, I think. Riley. Okay. Her name is Joanna Fellows. Her first affair was with Guy. Oh, what was Guy? Wait, all I gotta do is scroll up. Fan Guy Hudson. What was his last job before he passed away? President third. I'm sorry if I'm also itching, y'all. I don't know what got my body so itchy in here all of a sudden. I was not doing this earlier. Third president. First affair. Final affair. Guy Hudson. This is why you got into that car accident and poor your wife got involved in it too. The ghetto. I want to see if there's the root trees. Family picnic. Nothing. I wonder what happened if I search dirty Dave. Oh, Dirty Davy. Okay. It says, according to fan sites, Felix Fellows is not 5P's actual name. His birth name was David Fellows. Oop. Dirty Davy was 5P's previous stage name. He used to sell records and perform live shows in Portland under that name. There are some people selling his old mixtapes on auction sites, one apparently called Dirty Devil and Dirt Port. Okay, so his real name is, so what? That's to throw you off, girl. To throw you off. Okay, let me click. His real name is David. I feel confident in all that. But now where I'm confused is, where do all these other people play a part? Maybe I should do some more research on. Oh wait, what's the name of her new book? Let me see. Sam. At 6 piece. Okay. There's an older version of this page in Time Travel Archive. Okay. You're viewing an older version of this page from Time Travel Archive. According to publisher website, 6 Pieces is an upcoming book by Sam Matson. Okay. Now let's go back to the newer one. 6 Pieces Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family by Sam Matson. Is that the whole title? Okay. We're gonna look up both versions. Was released early 1999 and perhaps assisted by the still relatively recent plane crash shot to the top of the charts. Reviews were mixed, and its time on bestsellers list was limited to only 2 months. Most reviewers agree that the core of the book about Samantha's father and the struggles they faced was compelling, and that the takedown of the hypocrisy of Elias Roottree was deserved. However, many books umbrage with the timing of the release and the tone of the book, which seemed vindictive. The fallout from the book led to the Roottree Company scrambling to release a statement, and due to a conflict of leadership, famously released multiple conflicting official statements over 3 days. This confusing move was referenced in the popular culture due to a late-night sketch about indecisionitis, but more traditional analysis have been calling it the Roottree Rift. Okay, let's look into that. A few months later, due to Roottree Mania, the book re-entered the charts and sold even better than the first one. Okay. Let's look up Roottree Mania real quick. The Roottree Rift, before we go about her book. The 3 press releases from the Roottree Candy Company after the release of 6 Pieces were referred to as the Roottree Rift due to the clear conflicts between them. The first was fairly standard. It stated that there was no president of the Roottree Company, but that the entire family was made aware of the release of the book and that they would be meeting as soon as possible. Only then could they verify the legitimacy of the claims it raised and decide next steps. The second release was emailed to business newspapers 3 hours later and announced that after a vote, Ron Roottree, let's look into his new tea, will be taking over temporarily as an interim president. It also went on to state that Ron was aware of the book, had verified the claims within, and would look into compensating Mrs. Matson and her family immediately. It also stated that the company lawyers would be taking immediate steps with the family to revisit Plant's trust terms to make sure nothing like this could happen again. It was quickly clear to business reporters that analysis that the time between the 2 press releases would not have been logistically sufficient to gather a majority of the family, even using conference calls. This was reported on many news channels, and a third, much shorter press release came the next day. It claimed that a draft of the announcement was made prematurely and that Clark Rafferty LaRoe and Ron Roottree will be taking over as the company's first joint presidents. We need that. It also states that any compensation plan will be based on the stringent verification process. What that is, we gotta look that up because I don't know what that is. I don't know where to go. I don't know if I want to look into her book first or look into more of this stuff. Okay, let's look up this first. What does this mean? Oh wait, do I need the quotation marks? My bad. Oh, nothing. Okay. Let's look at Ron Roottree first. It says, Ron was announced as president of Roottree during the Roottree Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed the announcement and instead stated that Ron and Clark would take over. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. Oh, there are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are retelling of the basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on, look into Business Watch. Ron has also done some interviews saying that the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. Instead, he hopes release a movie about it someday. 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother, Gwen, died in Paris, France, and he and his brother Robbie have seemingly made amends. That's crazy. They just having death after death. Okay. Let's look this up real quick. Ron and Business Watch. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottree Rift about what really happened with Roottree. The article mentions that nobody from Roottree that they reached out to was willing to go on the record Instead, the timeline of events has been constructed from public records, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. The only part of that are new to you are also more those vague parts, the ones supposedly confirmed by their anonymous source. Mm. The timeline says that the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Roottree died, but before the release of Six Pieces, and decided they wanted Ron Roottree to take over because of his experience running RR Productions and because he was well known and well respected Roottree. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. They were worried he would gut the clan's trust to remove Robbie Roottree. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that could risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When Six Pieces came out, he saw his chance to force action. While the family was in the limelight and released the press release him wait, what? Released Limelight and release, the press released himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the clan's trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. Okay. So, okay. So I see instead of a timeline, events has been constructed from public records, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. Okay. I think it's safe now for us to go look into that book. Hold on. Let me just go back. Let me just make sure there was nothing else I needed to check. Yeah, I can always come back to find his name, but for now, let's just go straight into the library. Let's see what Sam. I probably got to copy and paste the title of her name of her book because it was long, and I know she had two different titles. Okay, let's search Six Piece first because that's the shortest one. Okay. It says published 1999, hardcover nonfiction. Sam Matson books was released earlier this year and details the truth about Elias Roottree, as well as Sam's father, Edward Clancy Roottree, and John Miller. You help verify her story, so much of the book's core contents are familiar to you. That said, Sam had some sections on other family secrets and rumors. Much of it didn't matter to the primary purpose of the book, and some of it is new to you. It may be important to your new search. These sections have been added to your notes. Oh, it's the same book? Okay, I just gotta make sure with this game because, you know, they like to play with me. Six Pieces. Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family. Sam Matson. I mean, you could have did way better with this title page, but I ain't gonna judge you. Sam book has a few different passages about her own history with the company and rumors and gossip she collected during the tenure. She ran the farm of a period starting around 1968 after the death of Elias Roottree. Okay, so she ran the farm around 1968. Okay, I need to lock that in because one thing I wasn't doing the last time was paying attention to the years. So I definitely need to pay attention to the years, okay? If I ain't learned nothing else. After the death of Elias Roottree, into her daughter, Gwyneth took over in 1984, okay? So she had it for like 20 years, basically. 20-something years. Most of the relevant rumors coincide with the reign of Guy Hudson, who took over as president in 1978. Sam was very much not a fan of Guy, and according to Six Pieces, it was an open secret within the family that Guy was very much not a fan of remaining faithful to his wife, Patricia. Many of their hires at the time were young, single women, and Guy often spent a lavish amount of money on private parties. So we gotta look into this, okay? This was 20 years ago, and Sam warns that most of it is hearsay. Still, you find the following information that may be relevant. One of Sam's farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a daughter, who Sam never met, but who worked as one of Guy's secretaries. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant called Antonelli's. Okay, Elizabeth had a daughter. Excuse me. Who secretaries? Okay. met her daughter at one of Guy's parties and they eloped quickly due to a pregnancy. Elizabeth wasn't aware that the party was for swingers. Wow, this family wild. Rumor has it that her daughter showed up with Guy and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. Okay. So that explained why Guy got so many arrows and lines. Okay. Yeah, at this point, I'm starting to think I ate something I'm allergic to because I kid you not, I was not this itchy. And the only thing I ate besides my dinner, but what I noticed I started getting itchy is when I ate this blueberry donut. And I love me a blueberry donut down, y'all. Okay. All right. My bad. Guy's main positive contribution to the company involved expanding the to markets previously untapped by Roottree. However, when he went on trips overseas, they were often for weeks at a time. He was with his bangs. And Guy was known for spending more time and money on unofficial business than meetings with the distributors and manufacturers. It was said that he bribed at least one politician to open a factory in Brazil. We gotta look into that. My thing is this though, if they knew Guy was doing all this, why did they keep him in charge? Let's be honest. And this is also the same guy who wanted to make caviar, what was it, candy pieces for the rich people. Child, he was just doing a lot. There's also a section where Sam speculates that Elias may have also cheated on Gwyneth. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was, and was the first to invite Sam to family events. While she has no hard evidence, Sam always got the impression that Gwyneth was about able to coerce Elias into allowing Sam back into the family, using some kind of leverage, instead of it being a natural course of events. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyneth were known to loudly... then Mr. Elias... Is Elias and Gwyneth the head honchos? If I'm not mistaken, like, who's Beth? Let me finish reading. Hold on. That caught my attention. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyneth were known to loudly argue, sometimes about another woman. Sam also says her son Ernie once asked her, who's Beth? Because he overheard them yelling about someone with that name. As far as Sam knows, Elias once had a secretary named Elizabeth. A different Elizabeth than a supervisor from the farm. Oh, highlight it, baby. Highlight it. But she never met her. Wow. Okay. I think we're gonna stick with Guy for now. Let's focus on his situations. And let's reveal the 4 people that we can with him. So they said Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met, but who worked as one of the Guy's secretaries. A caterer from a local restaurant called Tailah met her daughter at one of Guy's parties. Okay. Let's search this. I don't know if I have to search this in what is it called? The internet or the periodical. Let's do this first. Antonelli's is an Italian restaurant and has been in the Butler County Times twice. The most recent time was when it closed in 1992. The owner, Rochelle Zimmer. Okay. Sold the land the building was on, and at the time of the article she was unsure if the restaurant would move to a new location or if she would retire. Many years before that, there's a puff piece from Valentine's Day 1978 that asks the recently married residents of Butler County how they met. Okay, let's pay attention, everybody, lock in. Christine Garland responded, she and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonelli's, met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. Pause. Ooh. This. What was the story? Okay. So that's how Elizabeth know the people. A caterer. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same track. From her mother's farm. So Christina Garland responded, she and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonelli's, met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. Okay, Steve used to work extra hour just to be there during her deliveries. Although they grew apart when the restaurant switched suppliers, they reconnected by chance and eloped at the end of the year. Now she has a bun in the oven and they're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their restaurant. Okay, so this seemed like irrelevant information, but also relevant. I'm gonna look over Rochelle first. Spider search. Nothing. Okay. Can I spider search them? Or her? No. Okay. Let me see if I look into this a little bit more. Nothing. Nothing. I don't know why this is sticking out to me. This part right here. Christine Garland responded, she and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonelli's, met years when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. That's not her daughter, right? Although they grew apart. Okay, now she has a bunny oven. They're both working. Okay. I'm gonna have to come back to this. I feel like this isn't really telling me. Because they said this is in 1978, right? I feel like this story is definitely referencing something here. But for whatever reason, my brain is not processing it. So did she end up... Is this how she met Guy? Child, the mess. And what does Rochelle Zimmerman have to do with anything? I'm so confused. Okay, let's just look these people up in here. Let me see if more details will pop up about them. No. Let me do her. Okay. Rochelle and her husband, Mark Zimmer, have a few mentions in the Butler County Times. Both were local business. Rochelle owned a Tinoli's, an Italian restaurant, and Mark owned a local bookstore called Bookmarks. Both closed in 1992. Mark was also mentioned once in the Butler Times when he was sued by Steve Garland, which is... Okay, hold on. Steve Garland. Steve Garland's mentioned in a couple of articles. The first was an article about how he met his wife Christine when he worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later in September 1978, a listing for his weekend cooking classes, Gourmet for the Groovy. The blurb mentions that he's been given lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so that he can keep an eye on his son. The third was from 1991 and is titled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. His recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. The article mentioned that although the recipes are hard to copyright, Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garland bean salad, for example, involved making a tray with a gnome for some magic beans. Apparently, these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook, in addition to additional stories that followed the same format. Oh, wow. Come on, Mark. Okay. So this is important somehow. My brain just got to catch up, like, for real. I mean, can I look up this book? Gourmet for the Groovy. Okay, so Mark Zimmerman was sued by Garland. Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales. Okay. Kitchen Tales by Mark Zimmer. Kitchen Tales. I'm gonna tell the kitchen. Okay. Out of print, no copies released as Garnishing the Truth. The entire description of this book, according to the library system, is a recipe that contains stories. Okay. Copy. Nothing relevant to your investigation. The only reason I'm getting the stories from this, because I feel like something. No. I guess we just gonna switch our gears to Anonymom until I figure out how do Christine play in all this. Because I have a feeling Christine's son that she had is not the son of who we think it is. The Steve Garland guy. I think his next affair was with Christine. Because Elizabeth could be her mom. I want to know if I search. Oh, no, I don't got her last name. Never mind. I don't want to just hop to the next person. Because that's what I did in the other episode. I wanted to at least try to stick in order so it won't be no hopping back and forth. But something's telling me to search Anonymom. Okay, so this is showing the tree is definitely showing this person is also an original Christmas tree, family tree. Okay, I'm gonna search Anonymom and let's see if we can get her figured out. And then I probably end the episode there. There's no point in me staring at the screen trying to figure out what should I do. Let's search Anonymom. I hope I'm spelling that right. Okay. Anonymom was this. Oh, this is a lot to read. Anonymom was the second high-profile case after Felix Fellows. I mean, that kind of worked out because we did kind of figure him out already. So I guess it is safe to go to Anonymom. A potential new Roottree being added to the Clan's trust. Instead of claiming herself as a Roottree, however, she claimed she slept with Guy Hudson and that her daughter was a Roottree. The accusation came during the height of Roottree Mania. I have to look that up too. And began with a brief TV interview. She appeared in the shadows with a disgusted voice and promoted an article about herself in News Time. In the TV interview, in the article, she referred to her daughter as Jane Doe Roottree. The name Anonymom was not self-inflicted. It seemed to spring up organically because nobody knew how else to refer to her. Okay, pause everything. Real quick. They said an article, Anonymom. Hold on, I'm about to just check this. Nothing. Okay. News Time. Okay. Now I got a picture of something. An anonymous woman appeared on the cover of News Time holding a picture of her daughter, Jane Doe Roottree. The first and only mention of the phrase Anonymom and Newstree came a week after when they issued an apology for featuring her in the first place. Okay, gotcha. Before we reveal that, let's keep reading. Go back to Spider Search. The day after the News Time article, Sam Matson publicly supported Anonymom to some parts of the story she found particularly credible. With the momentum from Sam's endorsements, Anonymom went on a media blitz. Ultimately, this backfired. As more details came out, people became skeptical of her story due to the extreme similarity to Five Pez. Her accusation even included many of the same details as his mother's story. This included her job, secretary in the time period, late 70s. I mean, if he had a thing for secretaries, what y'all wanted her to do? I'm sure I would have been skeptical too, but if you start seeing that, okay, he was actually dating the secretaries and being around those women because they were younger, yada yada da, that's his MO, you know what I mean? At that point, it comes to be like, hey, this is just what he do. After pummeling the Five Pet story so publicly, the Roottrees were more prepared to handle all Clan's trust-related cases. Within a week, a DNA test proved that Anonymom's daughter could not be related to the Roottrees. This was announced at a joint press conference with lawyers representing both Anonymom and the Roottrees. Each party ensured their prospective clients provided accurate samples. Immediately after the negative results were released, many of those who had already skeptical felt vindicated. Others who had built up hope that that the history could repeat itself after Five Pez felt duped. Many people suspected the whole affair had been a hoax to gain fame and money. Many demanded that Anonymom be held accountable, and some people even began to attempt to track down her true identity. Oh, yep. They do that still to this day. The Roottree company felt pressured to put out a second statement to try to curb some of the backlash, even going so far as to say, though it was scientifically proven that Jane Doe Roottree is not a Roottree, this doesn't mean that her mother and Guy Hudson were not involved in an affair. True. She had every right to make her claim, as it has been verified that her stories about Guy Hudson were not exaggerations. Please leave their family alone. And what's interesting is, how sure are we to know that these her DNA test, I should say, wasn't like tampered with? And I'll only say that because if y'all already had to deal with Five Pez and y'all just like, okay, but at the same time, what would be the point of lying? I mean, to save the Roottree family name, because it's like, okay, we have one affair in the family. That's just one. Now you talking about 2, 3, 4? No, we got to draw a line. So maybe. Many people claim that the high-profile anticlimax and public backlash was the beginning of the end of the Roottree Mania, since much of the fun was to share fascination about secret Roottrees. Others think that, like any fad, it just ran its course naturally, regardless. This was the final notable event related to the release of 6 pieces, and things soon went back to normal. Jane Doe Roottree has already been eliminated as a potential new Roottree by the company's lawyers, who are the ones verifying your work. Anonymom's affair does not appear on your updated Roottree. So I read all of this for no reason. Let me see what this is then. Okay. Here we go again. Another claim to the famous family name. Oh wait, this is something different. Okay, it was determined through DNA test that anonymous daughter was not a Roottree. Yes, we know. We prefer the right around. Okay, an anonymous woman's appeared. Yep. The anonymous woman claimed to have had an affair with Guy Hudson while she was working as his secretary. She and another woman were hired at the same time during the transition period. While many other secretaries that had worked under Zach Morgan were already gone, she says that she and the other woman were both underqualified, as neither had typewriter experience. According to other staff members interviewed, Guy had his own requirements for hiring women. Guy Hudson liked to throw lavish parties, and the longer he was president, the more excuses he found. The anonymous woman posits that these parties mostly seem to be an excuse to have after parties at Guy's home, featuring much more alcohol and other substances. She claims she slept with him at one of these after parties. She confronted Guy when she found out she was pregnant. Guy didn't seem fazed, and they came to an arrangement. He paid her a significant amount of hush money on a recurring basis. Under the table, she used it to move away and start a new life with her daughter. Okay, the other lady had a son. Okay. When Guy died, the money stopped coming, and she assumed things had run their course. She went back to work at the department store and hoped that nobody could ever look too closely at how she paid for her house. She told everyone that her daughter's father walked out and one day and never came back. She claimed that after seeing the film, imagine knowing that this wasn't your child to begin with and you was making all paying payments, a hush money. I see. I mean, that's what you get. You shouldn't be doing that no way. You wouldn't have these situations if you wasn't cheating on your wife. But she told everyone that her daughter's father was okay. She claimed that after seeing the fantastic article in News Time, she realized that she wasn't the only one that this happened to. While she had never worked at the Roottree company at the same time as Five Pet's mother Joanna, their stories seem eerily similar, and she knows Felix was telling the truth right away. Why is it raining all of a sudden? The article presented no tangible evidence of the anonymous woman's time at Roottree, and all of these payments were allegedly made in cash. However, using details that she provided in News Time, the reporters were able to reach out to the other woman hired at the same time, who also remained anonymous. They successfully fact-checked the timeline of both women and confirmed that the existence of the infamous after-parties. Five Pet's case was strengthened, and this new story was subsequently published. Okay, so here's my thing. If you was having this hush money about the situation, right? And I understand that, Five Pets came out, told his story. But why didn't you tell your story when you had the chance? You get what I'm saying? Like, why wait? I feel like once that last check hit and you knew he died and he wasn't coming back, I would have been there with my story, like, or I would have kept it hush. Because at this point, you look even crazier coming out to tell the story at the moment he died. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. But it is kind of weird to wait until somebody else come out to tell their story, and then all of a sudden you trying to tell your story when you could have had an opportunity. And I know some people look at that and be like, well, they weren't brave enough, and they looked at the other person as brave. But it's kind of just like, you at some point you gotta look at it and be like, look, I gotta speak up for myself, okay? You gotta be brave too. And regardless how you look at it, you forever gonna look at it and be like, well, if that's the case, anybody who tell their story after that is gonna be, looking like you wasn't brave. But I'm just saying, if you was the first affair, let's look at it. Oh no, she wasn't. Five Pet's mom was the first affair. Okay, so it's in order. It's in order. Okay, so Anana Mom had nothing to do with nothing. Let me look up Roottree Mania, because that keeps being brought up. And I'm pretty sure there's something in here that I'm going to have to come back to. But for right now, Roottree Mania. Okay, not that much to read. Okay, Roottree Mania immediately followed the announcement that a rapper going by Five Pez was actually a Roottree. Collectively, popular culture seemed to focus on the Roottree family and Five Pez for a few weeks before everything felt oversaturated and society moved on. Okay. Because of this Five Pez saga, an underlying throw line to how pop culture treated Roottree Mania was an excuse for everyday people to claim they were also Roottrees. Daytime talk shows had "I'm a secret Roottree" episodes. Late night hosts and guests made jokes about other lost members of the family, and there was a widely shared website where you could fill your own name to find out if you were a secret Roottree. When you submitted your name, it simply said no with an image of Clark Rafferty LaRoe giving you the finger. Roottree Mania lasted only a few weeks. just long enough for 6 pieces to re-enter the charts, and to trigger new printings of other Roottree-related media. This included Lauren Diaries, okay, VHS releases of Gwen O movies, as well as countless other unauthorized biographies. Okay, I'm gonna look up those unauthorized biographies, which mostly seem to attempt to capitalize on the Roottree sisters, Carl and Brenda. Okay, I should look up the updated information on them. These re-releases were too late to successfully capitalize on or extend the craze. As a result, most of them were failures, and countless novelty shirts that have variations of I'm a Secret Roottree became immediately unfashionable, though some people still wear them ironically. So I feel like there's no point of looking into the Roottree now. I mean, the Roottree sisters, Carl and Brenda. No. Unauthorized biographies. See, this just intrigued me because it's in quotation marks. And it's like, where do I go from there? Oh, wait, I need an author in. So maybe we have to find a certain name. Maybe like a Guy Hudson. I didn't forget to look into Miracle. I just don't feel like Miracle is very important at the moment. Okay, there's an older version of this. Says Elias Roottree was the founder and first president of the Roottree. Is this the original? Yeah, this is the updated. Elias and Gwen Roottree was never really celebrities, but the general public's perception of them as classic faces associated with the Roottree Candy Company had always been in somewhat high regards. This was Elias' intention as a family man with his family brand. Since 6 pieces, the candy company has placed much less of an emphasis on Elias as a historical brand connected figure, but there have also been those who have argued that it was his right to decide how to split his inheritance and that he did nothing wrong. This has led to some heated television exchanges and countless opits. The first Anderson Maple Farm only used to be a popular tourist attraction during the summer months when it had special tours. However, it has since been seen an explosion of off-season business as some religious and political groups decided to visit to show support for Elias and Gwyneth's traditional values and financial rights. This rise in support was in turn followed by pickets from gay rights activists when some particularly inflammatory organization made them pilgrimages. Amongst all this conflict, the farm has since shut down, seemingly indefinite. And it's time for me to wrap this up. Indefinitely. The website says check back later, but has no date listed. The quote from Best William book appears to have been taken down. So everybody feeling that aftermath heat of everything that happened. Okay, so what is interesting to me is that, okay, how many affairs did this man have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 affairs. So we don't know much about him, Robert Roottree. So I would not be surprised, honestly, if this is Robert Roottree. I don't know how old he would have been in 1998. I'll have to do my research. But seeing that they came up into this story, let me Google him real quick. Let me spider search him, I should say. I don't know if he's going by Robert Roottree or Robbie. Okay. Robbie Roottree was released from French prison after serving a few years for assault. His embezzlement and arrest were partially featured in 6 pieces, as Robbie's participation in the Clan's Trust was a key. I need to look up this Clan's Trust again. Let me see if anything upgraded. Was a key piece of evidence in Sam's favor and have since become much more publicly infamous. He is not yet returned to the United States, but when journalists reached out to him recently after the death of his mother, he had issued a blanket statement a few days ago. The death of my mother was hard on our family. My brother and I, after spending time together caring for her and mourning, have finally made amends. It was a highly transformative few weeks when it came to our relationship. I'm in recovery for my addiction, and a major aspect of the process is that I wish to stay private. Okay, let me look you up. Robbie Roottree. Nothing. Okay, how about this? None. Okay, how about I got nothing else. Okay, let's look up this real quick. I already know about the older version. This is the newer version. The Clans Trust is the Roottree Company unusual legal arrangement and a motivation for most of their major financial decisions. As a recap, the entire family earns the inheritance directly from the profits of a candy company as well as their sister clothing company, Root, with the period. Yep. This means like that. I did not mean to do that. But now we know we can go forward to get there. Okay. This means that nearly every Roottree can potentially have a say in the company high-level operation. Historically, this has caused the families to be slow to approve any major expenditures that could significantly dig into the profits. After the release of Six Pieces by Sam Matson, the Clans Trust came under heavy scrutiny. Sam, her children, and her grandchildren should have been covered under the trust, according to the wording revealed during an internal family conflict between Ron and Robbie Roottree. It seemed that those who wrote the trust, Clancy Edward Roottree, at the directions of Elias Roottree, purposely deceived the rest of the family about the exact details of how it worked, in an attempt to keep Sam and her father, Edward Clancy, his own twin brother, in comparative poverty. Because the rest of the family made money hand over fist, they had very little motivation to question their understanding. Sam Books revealed this to the public, and it did not go over well. Clark Rafferty LaRoe took over the company, and his most celebrated move was his first official one. He assured Sam's family would get their share. To help facilitate this, the inheritance aspect of the trust is now under the control of a third party, Ruby Legal Enterprises. Okay. This ensures that the financial motivations of Roottree family members would not interfere with the investigation into potential new Roottrees. According to Clark's letter, however, some family members are still doing their best to slow the investigation by refusing to answer questions. Okay, let me go forward to the Root. The Root website has a small memorial section to the deceased members of the family, but it contains no new information. The most recent catalog, spring 1989, had an entirely black cover with no text on it. On the leadership page, you learn that Root is currently managed by a designer who apparently Brenda's White's second in command. Who was that? You don't recognize her name and she seems unrelated to your search. Okay. There's also a scholarship page. On it, you find information about the Roottree Sisters Fashion Scholarship. It is awarded to 3 underprivileged high school girls each year who wish to pursue a career in fashion. Apparently, it also gives them an opportunity to show off their designs on professional models on the real runway. According to the site, the fund was created directly from the shares that would have contributed to the inheritance of the Roottree sisters if they were still alive. Like other aspects of the Clans Trust, it's managed by the Ruby. Okay, let me look this up. Ruby Legal Enterprises is the name of the law firm that has been hired by the Roottree Candy Company. The company is named after the head lawyer Ruby Spratt. Okay. I did not mean to do that. I'm going to just highlight. You can't find much about the company from before this year, though all the articles tell the same tale. After the fiasco of Six Pieces and the revelation that the Roottree internal law group was complicit in such a cover-up, they hired outside counsel. The Ruby Legal Enterprise Group now seems to have ties to multiple aspects of the Roottree Corporation, including a candy company and Root. They were recently in the news due to a high-profile lawsuit that raised against Cicely Sanchez. Oh, we getting tea, y'all. Okay, let's go forward. Ruby Spratt, I hit y'all in the face. Ruby Spratt, like her legal company, is relatively elusive. The most complete source of information you can find from before her time with the Roottrees is from the website for a magazine owned by a major airline. She was the subject of one of the articles from a recurring series about a modern day success story. Ruby grew up in a foster care but excelled at school and earned a scholarship to study at Middle Eastern University. There she graduated at the top of her legal class and was quickly hired as a lawyer for a prominent firm. There are a few high-profile corporate-involved cases she was a part of. One was a legal consultant for a class action lawsuit against consultant. I am so slow, y'all. I had a slow moment there. Consultant. I promise y'all, it's time to wrap it up. Y'all know. Against a manufacturer of steering wheel covers. Another was to help a local gas station chain in her hometown of Portland. Okay. With the rollout of a promotion that allowed gas station customers the ability to bet on the price of gas. The blurb ends by calling her new firm a double threat. Her company service are a cross between a traditional lawyer and a PR manager. Interesting that she's from Portland, y'all. Y'all find that interesting? She could be related. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I forgot where this whole story take place for real. News Time briefly covered a lawsuit between Ruby Spratt and Picotola magazine. Picote magazine surrounding Cicely Sanchez. They said that Cicely didn't have the rights to redistribute the photos in the magazine of Guy Hudson. Picote apparently announced that they would be pulling their issue the following day, the moment that Ruby Legal Enterprises threatened them. Okay, so I already know to look this magazine up with Guy Hudson. This caused the issue to sell faster than any other in the magazine's history. Though only for a day, even people that would never have normally purchased it went out of their way to buy one, just in case it would be worth something someday. It especially caught the eye of a conspiracy theorist who assumed that anything worth suing over would have been hiding something. An expert legal analysis from News Time states that it was unlikely that Ruby could have had the story pulled if it had gone to court. And Picote likely got more eyes on it than it would have if the Roottrees just ignored the story. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of torn between looking more into Cicely, but I don't think there's nothing more there, so I'm gonna go here and put Guy Hudson. There we go. In an issue that focused on talking toy fish and a demonic message is supposed to say as the batteries ran low, Picote had an article about a canceled book by Cicely Sanchez. The book's subject was Guy Hudson, and the issue was said to contain pictures that Cicely did not have the rights to publish. Because of the pictures, this issue was pulled from the store shelves, making it the subject of some conspiracies and an instant collector's item. Due to this recall, the version found in its archives is incomplete. Bass Bob. Could this popular gift be filling homes with satanic messages? Okay, but what about my pictures? This issue of the Picote contain articles. Okay. The story concerned an unreleased book she had written about Guy. It seemed that it used photos of Guy, and Cicely did not own the rights to publish. Unfortunately, the magazine was issued a cease and desist by the Roottree lawyers. The magazine was pulled from the shelves, and the version you found on your periodical search had the relevant pages removed, rendering this magazine useless unless you want to read about a potential demonic fish. I mean, I guess not. Cicely Sanchez reveals Roottree secrets. Interesting. So my next thing would be to search, I guess, her name. I may get some of the same information, but let's just see. Okay. Oh wait, Sanchez. Okay, we spoke about this. Let's do this. Now let's do News Time. Okay. Look, Cicely Sanchez is author best known for Portrait of a Changed Man. That's what I like to see. And V. Okay, now we got a few things to read. The library and this. Okay. Now her follow-up, The Foreign Gospel. Okay, we'll search this next. Did not perform as well critically, but still sold quite respectably. She has written a few more books since then, including biography of Van Gogh, but her first two are her claim to fame. According to the site about authors, Cicely is known for her nonfiction with a focus on exploring darkness in the human psyche. Recently, Cicely appeared in a magazine called Picote with an article about a book that she had been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. The magazine and Cicely herself were immediately issued cease and desist due to the inclusion of pictures that she had never had the rights to publish. The issue was pulled from the story, but commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. Okay, but if Guy Hudson wanted her to write it, then what's the issue? Interesting if you ask me. Okay, let's go to the library. It says this book description has this to say: what if everything you stand for, everything you know to be true today, could disappear in an instant? All of your politics, relationships, gone in the blink of an eye. Would you still be you? Cicely Sanchez tells this powerful true story about a man who woke up after being saved from drowning in his backyard pool and became an entirely different person. Included are interviews from those that knew him best before, as well as a one-on-one chat that paints the entire picture. You won't be able to put it down without wondering if that were me. Hold on. Says what? Foreign Gospel tells the tale of a man from a Catholic church who claims he was told by God that he should travel to Thailand and begin to preach. Is this supposed to be talking about miracle? And began to specifically with the goal to convert 10,000 people. He returned to the United States after just over 2 years, claimed to have succeeded. This book tells his version of the story, but the author Cicely Sanchez also traveled to Thailand to investigate these claims and talk with some of the so-called converted. I think this is talking about Miracle, but who is she talking about with the drowning part? So Cicely could actually be the person, the secret source. Because why would Guy commission her to write his book? But then they say that she didn't have the rights to it, even though Guy Hudson gave her the permission to write about him. She's writing these other stories about people in the family. And these are the biographies that they probably talking about. You remember they said unsolicited biographies? Who could be this? Who could this be about is what I'm trying to say. Let me highlight this so I can come back to it. So let's just go to our trusty dusty hint, y'all. If you're completely stuck, okay. You haven't searched for everything on your notable events. That's a good place to start. What haven't I searched? A Clark. He's the only thing I think is left. I mean, hey, why not? Clark Rafferty LaRoe is the new president of the Roottree Corporation. This does not include Root, period, which appears to have its own new leadership, which is under Brendo's wife's successor. An early, or right-hand man, or whatever they said, in early March of 1999, about 5 months ago, it was announced that both Clark and Ron will be taking over for what essentially described as a transitional period in the aftermath of Six Pieces. About 2 weeks later, the company released a press statement that thanked Ron for his work, but announced that Clark was the new permanent president. Most of the information about Clark you knew already. Many descriptions of him tend to focus on his advertising career and that his mother was Lauren Roottree. Few seem to touch on his complex and volatile marital history, right? Because he married his ex, who he had a kid with, sister, younger sister at that, and they had 2 kids of their own. Messy. Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of the spotlight, but did have one notable foray into the public eye. He gained a lot of support when his first move was a statement in favor of accepting Sam and her family into the trust. This also served as an announcement that the clan's trust would no longer be handled by anyone in the family, since due to their financial motivation, none of them could ever be impartial. Okay, I searched everything and I'm getting the same information. 5 pieces of music. Should probably some of his music could be helped. Oh, I did not look into his music. What was, I know they had Dirty Davy. Okay. Let me spider search this first. Okay, it says Dirty Devil was 5Pet's first mixtape released as Dirty Dave. Okay. There's a discrepancy in debates about what year exactly it was released, based on some of the pop culture references, with the range thought to be somewhere between 1992 and 1994. One of the songs, Yes, I Can Jump, seems to be at the center of the confusion. Okay. Some fan sites claim that there are multiple versions with different track lists, song lengths on them. Though because there's very little evidence of the mixtape online as is, it's even harder to verify that. Okay, so Yes, I Can Jump. Why? They saying white man can't jump. Right. And I'm like, that's what I got. Yes, I Can Jump is a song that was on 5Pet's mixtape Dirty Devil. It seems to be the only song that didn't make it onto the studio album that people thought should have. In it, he referenced a popular movie from 1992 called White Man Can't Jump, right? This reference has caused some confusion amongst the fan base because of it. It is agreed upon that the mixtape had come out in 1992 at the earliest, but other points out that Fellows referenced seeing the movie on his 17th birthday. This will have been 1994. Some take this to mean that the album had to have been released in 1994 at the earliest. Others claim that he was likely just trying to make himself sound older, since in response to some of the more questionable lyrics, he has stated multiple times that he was just a dumb kid when it was released. I mean, 17 is still a teen. People still consider a dumb kid. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, I guess. Highlight. What other song did he have? Dirt Poor. Dirt Poor was a mixtape by Dirty Davy released in 1996. There's a lot of online discourse from people who like to point out that in one of the songs, Felix includes someone that he revealed to be his own distant cousin, Raina, in a list of attractive women. The lyrics of the songs Heat mention a few different prominent female actresses, models, and musicians from the 90s, and provides a crude pun online about what fellows felt about them. When re-released in 1999, much of the rhetoric was toned down to be less overly profane, and the line referring Raina was clumsily replaced by Dana, a reference to a character from the X-Files. Okay. Root of all evil, he be talking about his grandpa? According to various sources, the album is mostly material that Five has recorded for his mixtape before he became notable but re-recorded with lyrical differences in professional production. All Your Problems was the first and only single released. Okay. All these songs, bro, got. After dropping the single, Five has announced that he retained the infamous celebrity lawyer Stevie Whitlock to sue his family. Okay. To date, it doesn't seem like he followed through. At first, the single didn't make much of a splash, but Whitlock, known for publicity stunts, paid thousands of teenagers a few dollars an hour to call and request the video on MTV, which increased his profile. MTV eventually caught on and banned the video altogether, which in turn received national news coverage and made the song even more popular. The track is the new song on the album. The subject matter of the song is hypocrisy of those that claim money is evil. He points out that the only people who think money is evil are those that have it, those that can afford to not be greedy. In the song, Pez triumphantly talks about taking the Roottree's wealth due to it being his birthright and giving it to those who need it most. You find a copy of the song on a suspicious looking website and download it for your records. Okay, let's listen to this hit song. Okay, Eminem. Let's turn this up. Okay. Okay. Well, let's follow along.
Trust should keep you away. Yo, it's disturbing catching a sermon from a geezer who's never known.
Okay.
But blurts out these claims that somehow we're sinners because we didn't earn it.
When miracle.
Worth it came free with your name. You expect me to treat your lectures on greed as some expert creed from he without blame. How about instead I turn my other cheeks and spread them. When you give me a kiss, you'll know just where to aim. You say money is a root of all your problems.
Root.
Take those problems away. Whoever calls dollars the root of all evil, just trying to make small pursuits of real people. You silver spoon feeds you the world's purest treacle, while real world folks burning spoons for the needle. So once more with tell this poor tragic orphan how your mansions and Porsches are actually horrible. How I'm better off penniless.
He's talking about himself.
That's actually extortion with your candy ass name. Synonymous with oh, you wanna call me classless. I'm gangster from Portland, but I play that game. I came up on the streets. The only streets you reppin' are Park Place and Boardwalk. Hypocrisy, monopoly is toppling. When I knock, have G's. Top off my pockets, please. Cause the same God that got to steal my mom from me is what he wants, right? For you to live in poverty. And if you're suddenly not eager to unhand that fortune, that's unfortunate. I guess I'm gonna have to take my portion, and I'll do it all legally. Class action, courtroom, decorum. I way past your fancy ass dormant.
Clock it. Oh, they got a choir? Bring the choir in. Oh, where I'm at? Bring the choir in. You say, okay. All your problems. Run away. Hey, you say. Money is the root of all your problems. Look at me messing up. All your problems. Okay, why this track actually isn't all that bad? It's giving very much Eminem vibes. I don't know what female. Oh, I thought they start playing another song. So clearly, he's throwing shots at the Roottree family in general. Elias, the Paul who started all of this. And then I'm sure he's talking about miracle. I feel like anytime they bring up preaching, they're talking about Miracle, because he's, I think, the only preacher besides his kids, but like as far as old geezer, or from a geezer, I added old. But so yeah, I feel like I should search Miracle, just to be on the safe side. Miracle Roottree. It seems Miracle Sr. is going on a new tour of the United States in late 1999. The previous flyer for the 3 generations of Miracles has been replaced. Deep part of history, the oldest living Roottree reprises and retells his incredible true story. Miracle Roottree grew up as one of the famous 5 pieces, living a life of wealth and luxury, but fortune was nothing compared to the powerful force of the Almighty. Doctors determined that he was destined to die young, but fate had different plans. He has lived a long and fruitful life. However, he is now in his 70s, and his age is beginning to make life on the road more difficult. So consider this your last chance to see him in a town near you before he settles back down in Pennsylvania. In this intimate evening, Miracle will reminisce about his famous history. He'll discuss the family's saints and sinners and provide a unique perspective on the most notable families in the United States today. Learn what originally drove him away from his fortune and into the arms of religion, and learn how his life has become more wealthy in spirit than it ever could have been from his inheritance. The site also lists the churches he will be appearing in and mentions that tickets can be purchased at their local services. Noticeably absent are any mentions about Miracle's news appearances. See, I didn't go back to my reminders, y'all. It told me to go back to my reminders. You remember that thing I said I'll read when I get to it, when I need to get to it? Yeah, and I never got to it. So now we're here. So I gotta search Caroline Mordine, and hopefully when I search her, we get something. If not, I'm going to end this episode where we can, because it's getting late. I'm getting sleepy. My reading is starting to suck even more. After the release of 6 pieces, Caroline Mordine did a television interview. Someone has uploaded a partial transcript of that interview on the television section of the messaging community. The transcript is only her answers, and the missing the questions. This created a somewhat confusing reading experience, but does give you a bit more history about Caroline. Oh, okay, let's see. Where is this right here? Okay, 45 minutes. The Caroline Mordine interview. We're going to try to fill in the blanks to figure out what they asked her. This was a cable news interview. A transcript of only Caroline's answers has been posted on the site about television. And they probably said, "Thank you for coming. Thanks for having me. I never really fit into the family, so it didn't surprise me. She could have put me in it if she wanted to talk about the time during my activism days when I almost got arrested for stealing the spark plugs out of all her tractors, but I don't really think it fit her narrative." Okay, so they probably asked her about being in Sam's book. Yes and no. They never tried to kick me out or send me to live on a farm, if that's what you mean. But I was already pretty unpopular, and once everyone learned why I divorced my husband, few people paid any attention. Okay, so she is married to a woman, and y'all already know. If you don't know, this family, I don't want to say they're, how can I put it? I feel like if you want to understand, then you might have to backtrack to the first episode, but pretty much Sam's dad was gay. We kind of touched on it in here. We kind of touched on it in here, and he got disowned by his family. And the only reason why I was going to say kinda is because he was subjected to become like the help in a sense on the farm, so he was still around. He pretty much was just off in a distance. Like people would see him, but they wouldn't really socialize with them because they just viewed him as the help. And they also, word around town, it was like because he was gay, no one really wanted to socialize with him. So that also probably added to that. Um, so yeah, I can see why she's saying that she was already unpopular, and being divorcing her husband to be with another woman probably also added onto that. She's my wife, not legally, but we've been together for half our lives. Call it what it is. I was 20 and had just had my daughter. I hate to look back at on that time because I was a terrible mother the first few years. I left my daughter with my ex-husband and followed a guy on a private jet to Europe. He lost a tooth and a client. I found love in a better understanding of who I was. Still, in our family's eyes, his trip was somehow more acceptable. Explain that. Mm-hmm. No, I couldn't stand him. Our family wrote off his behavior like he was some huge fan of romance or women. Okay, they talking about guy. But he didn't like the entire women. It was doubly awkward for me because he was more supportive than most. I slowly figured out it was because he assumed I would be as shallow as he was. With the women? He was a workaholic. He seemed nice enough and did a good job. I didn't know him well. That was one of Sam's problems with our family. None of us did except Carl. Honestly, I get why she's pissed. Okay. I'd rather not speak ill of the dead, not unless you want more stories about Guy. With Carl, though, all I can say is we used to be friends before. Okay, yeah, because she did write him a letter before they sent him to private school. He came back a lot judgier. It made sense when they made him president. He was a lot more like my father after they disciplined the fun out of him. After I started protesting the farms, he stopped returning my calls. Yeah, I think her dad was Zach. Um, Oh, well, he's harder to label. When I was a teenager, he was basically drunk or high or both all the time. He actually used to sell me pot. His problem with women were different than guys, but he never really judged me. I guess he knew it would be pretty hypocritical to judge anyone for anything. Back then, they didn't want me, but now I'm hot. They all own me. He was destructively unreliable in every way, but nowadays he's just kind of boring and old. I prefer that to how he used to be, and to Guy and Carl, but it's still a cautionary tale. I hope I'm never boring and old. I have no clue who she could be talking about. When I was a teenager, he was basically drunk or high or both all the time. Okay. Okay, you know what? I think we're gonna leave it there. I know we did not confirm our 4, but I'm confident in these. We just needed one more person. We did. But I'm drawing a blank. As per usual, this is gonna be on my mind where I probably finish this out immediately so I can get it out to y'all. But yeah, I don't know who this can be at all. So y'all let me know. Y'all got any suspicions? I'm just trying to look over everything before. Yeah. Okay, okay. We'll be back. All right, so that was our first episode of, I don't know what to call this. I don't know what to call it, Roottree Mania, because that's what it says in the save file. But then on that title screen, it says I'm a secret Roottree. So that was the first episode of the extended version of the Roottrees Are Dead. Just change the title in general. So if you're interested in seeing more, please consider coming back. Like this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you have not. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.